Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's one of the first ever superhero movies. Superman the movie changed things. For better or for worse, that is a question for another show. It started a trend that we're still seeing the ramifications of to this very day. Comic books became a viable source of income and entertainment in Hollywood. Christopher Reeve donned the iconic red and blue costume, and the multi-persona of Clark Kent and the Man of Steel, Superman. The movie was a big hit, commercially and critically, and we've arguably never had as good of a Superman movie since, although many have tried and continue to do so. But this classic superhero movie might still yield some fascinating facts and details you might not have known. And here they are, 10 cool facts about Superman the movie. In most instances, if there's a power cut or a blackout, that's it, you're done. No electricity means no filming. But Superman had a bit of luck in that during the 1977 blackout of New York City at night, they still managed to film. How, you might ask? Well, the film production used generators. On top of that, desperate to get their papers out on time, and as promised, the New York Daily News was allowed to use those same generators. And they released their latest editions as expected the next day, unlike pretty much everyone else in the city. Director Richard Donner joked that Jeffrey Unsworth believed he and the production was the cause of the blackout to begin with, due to the high demands of the film. Legendary actor Gene Hackman was cast in the role of Lex Luthor, the famed bald-headed Superman bad guy, but Gene was adamant on not changing his appearance for the role, that of a fully curly-haired man with a thick moustache. It would have made for a unique-looking Lex Luthor. Prior to Gene meeting Richard Donner, the director proposed that he would shave his moustache off in solidarity, so long as Gene did so. Hackman agreed to this. I mean, it's only fair, except that Donner never had a moustache, and obviously Gene didn't know this. To cover this little lie up, Donner wore a false moustache and then ripped it off at the last moment. Similarly, Gene Hackman refused to shave his head for the role of bald baddie Lex Luthor. He also refused to wear a bald cap. Unlike the mustache situation, there was no easy trick to get him to do it either. The production instead opted to constantly change Hackman's hairstyle throughout the movie, to give the impression that the character was wearing a shifting, changing hairpiece. Hairpieces are also seen in the underground complex supporting this top-of-the-head character trait. In one scene, Hackman agreed to wear a skull cap, and in the scene in which Hackman angrily removes his hairpiece, revealing the character's baldness, that skull cap is very visible. To help maintain continuity and establish that young Clark Kent was in fact the same person as adult Clark Kent, actor Christopher Reeve dubbed all of Jeff East's dialogue. The result is that East's voice is never heard in the final movie. But in the TV cut, extra footage was inserted into the movie, and those scenes were not dubbed. In those scenes, East's young Clark Kent voice can be heard. Marlon Brando was a big deal at the time. His salary was £3.7 million, plus a percentage of the total gross, and he only worked for 12 days. Now, it's worth noting that the salary also included his work on the sequel, which was shot back to back with this one. But Brando didn't show up in the sequel. That's because he sued Ilya Salkind, claimed she hadn't paid him his owed percentage of the profits. He won in the end, earning an additional $14 million for what amounted to 10 minutes of screen time. That unused footage was then finally used in 2006 Superman Returns. Christopher Reeve donned the iconic suit and made history, but he wasn't the director's choice for the part. Robert Redford, James Caan, and Clint Eastwood were all offered the role before Christopher Reeve came along, but they turned it down. Redford asked for too much money, Eastwood was too busy working on other products, and Caan simply didn't want to wear the suit. Caan has said Mario Puzo wrote a hysterical script with Superman doing loop-de-loops. Marlon Brando then called him and asked him to do it, thinking it would be funny to see him don the cape. Khan said, "There's no way I'm getting into that silly suit." Paul Newman was offered his pick of the roles too, either Superman, Lex Luthor or Jor-El. He was presented a sum of $4 million to do any of them, but he turned them all down. He simply wasn't interested. With their top choices out of the running, casting director Lynn Stallmaster suggested Christopher Reeve for the role of Superman, but Richard Donner and the Salkinds felt he was too young and, most significantly, too skinny. Reeve did screen tests for the role though, and he blew them away with his impressive performance. They simply had to cast him based on that. Afterwards, he underwent a strict physical training session for months, going from 170 pounds to 212 pounds in the short period between pre-production and filming. Richard Donner, the director of Superman, was not always heralded to be the director. In fact, Steven Spielberg was offered the position first, but he asked for too much money and the producers balked at him. The producers watched Jaws come out in '75 and awaited the box office results before making a serious decision about his potential involvement. Jaws, as we all know, went on to be a major hit, and Spielberg became the legendary director he is now, moving on to do Close Encounters of the Third Kind and then 1941. This made him unavailable to direct Superman, so they picked Richard Donner. Those Spielberg films didn't perform as well as Superman in the box office, so the producers were happy with the results. Spielberg and Donner then teamed up years later and made The Goonies in 1985. In an interview with David Letterman, Christopher Reeve got onto the topic of Marlon Brando. You know him as the famed actor, often considered one of the best of all time. But Reeve had different opinions, as did many other people who had actually worked with him over the years. Reeve accused the actor of phoning in his Superman performance. He said he was disappointed by the legendary actor who didn't seem to care about the performance or the movie.
I must say, I don't say this to be vicious, but I don't worship at the altar of Marlon Brando because I feel that he's copped out in a certain way. He's no longer in the leadership position that he could be. He could really be inspiring a whole generation of actors and by continuing to work. But what happened is the press loved him, whether he was good, bad, or indifferent, where people thought he was this sort of institution no matter what he did. So he doesn't care anymore. And I just think it would be sad to be 53, whatever he is, and not give a damn, that's all. I just think it's too bad that the man has kind of been forced into that hostility.
Brando reportedly refused to memorize his lines in advance. In a scene where he put baby Kal-El into a pod, for example, he was reading his lines from the diaper on the baby. Brando told Donner that the only way he could keep his performance fresh and not over-rehearsed was to record the first time he read the lines. It was very hard to get Brando to do multiple takes on any film. Notable actor Cary Elwes worked on Superman, but not as an actor. He was a production assistant whose job it was to bring Marlon Brando out of his trailer every day. Brando was paid $1 million a day in overages, had little incentive to leave his trailer according to Elwes in an interview with Ophira Eisenberg. Brando also refused to call Elwes by his given name, instead calling the young prospering actor Rocky, for whatever reason. And those are 10 cool facts about Superman. I'm sure there are loads of facts and trivia about this film still out there to discover. Let me know in the comments of feedback what you thought of this video, what your favourite facts are, and of course subscribe to this channel. Follow me everywhere at Leon Grant Burton, and until next time, keep on watching.